A man named Alec Guinness, a celebrated British actor, looked at this car once and said something he would spend the rest of his life having to explain.
The sports car looks sinister to me. If you get in that car, you will be found dead in it by this time next week.
The owner of this car, James Dean, standing next to him, laughed. 7 days later, to the day, he was dead in that exact car. She was one of the most beautiful machines Germany ever built. And for 70 years, almost everyone who has ever told her story has called her cursed. I am Rusty the Gear Guardian. 3 things before we start. 1. Everyone blamed her for a string of deaths that followed her for years. I want to show you what actually happened. 2. In 1960, she vanished completely, and not even the people who tell this story can agree on how. I do. I was there when it happened. 3. Yet there's still $1 million reward sitting on a table somewhere, waiting for her, and she knows exactly why nobody's ever going to collect it. It sucks to be James Dean's Porsche Spyder. Before any of this, she was just a very good idea. An aluminum body, shaped like it had been carved by wind rather than built by hand. A frame so light it barely weighed as much as the men standing around it. An engine built by a man who wanted it to rev higher than anything else on the road. 1953. The Nürburgring, her first race. She won it, then kept winning, all the way to an overall victory at the Targa Florio, the first one Porsche had ever taken at a major event. Only 90 of her were ever built. She was supposed to become a legend for exactly this: fast, light, and better than almost anything else on 4 wheels. Not a ghost story. Meanwhile, a boy was growing up who would eventually decide he needed her more than anyone else alive. James Byron Dean. Talented at almost everything he tried, and stubborn about the one thing his father never approved of. He chased it anyway. Years of nothing jobs and walk-on parts until, almost overnight, he wasn't nobody anymore. 3 films in 2 years. East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, the one that made him a symbol, not just an actor, then Giant. By 24, he was one of the most famous young men in America, and underneath all of it, a quieter obsession. He had been racing for over a year already, like a motorcycle first, then a Porsche Speedster. He was good at that too. September of 1955. That same 24-year-old walked into a showroom in Los Angeles and fell in love with her on sight. He had just finished filming Giant. He had a paycheck in his pocket and a race 2 weeks away. He bought her that same day. Within days, she had a name. Somebody started calling her Little Bastard. Nobody agrees on who. It stuck anyway. He painted the number 130 on her hood and doors, and never told anyone what it meant. Even I don't know. Some things he took with him. Not long before it, he stood in front of a camera for the National Safety Council and told every driver in America to slow down. He even ad-libbed the ending himself. The life you might save, he said, might be mine. A week before the race, he showed her to a British actor. You already know what was said. September the 30th, 1955. He was not joyriding, he was driving to a race. Breaking her in on the way exactly like a mechanic had suggested. Bakersfield. A speeding ticket just after 3:30 in the afternoon. He kept going. Blackwell's Corner, a gas station. He stopped for apples and a soda, talked cars with 2 other racers headed the same way. That was his last meal. 5:45 in the evening. A junction outside a town called Cholam. He was driving straight into the sun.
I felt him relax right before it happened. Not tense, not reckless. Just a young man, driving well, enjoying an evening. I want you to know that, because it is the last true thing I remember before everything became a story other people told about me.
A student named Donald Turnipseed turned left directly across the road, directly into her path. There was no time. There was no room. He never saw a small silver car against a low sun. and almost nobody would have. By the time the ambulance reached the hospital, he was gone. He was 24 years old. The man in her passenger seat, a Porsche mechanic named Rolf, survived. Barely. Turnipseed walked away with a scratch. He was never charged. Police said the crash was for Dean essentially unavoidable. He spent the next 40 years refusing to talk about it and died having said almost nothing else.
They pried him out of me with a crowbar. I do not know how to tell you what that felt like, except to say that I have never once, since that evening, been whole again.
She should have been allowed to rest there. She was not. A man named George Barris bought what was left of her. $2,500. He had a plan. Tour the wreck. Sell tickets. The moment he took possession of her, strange things started happening around her. Constantly. For years. She fell off his trailer on the way to his shop and broke a mechanic's leg. The garage storing her caught fire and burned to the ground. And somehow she barely got singed. Barris sold 2 of her parts to 2 different doctors. Her engine went to a man named Eschrich. Her drivetrain went to a man named McHenry. Both of them raced with those parts. Both of them crashed in the very same race. McHenry hit the only tree on the entire circuit. He died instantly.
Every single one of those men wanted something from me. A ticket sold. A leg to blame. A story to tell at a bar. Not one of them ever asked me what I actually wanted. They just decided I was evil. And they were right about one thing. Someone in that story was taking something that was never theirs to take. It was never me.
By then, she didn't have a name anymore. She was just Little Bastard. The cursed one. The car that kills people. And then in 1960, on her way home from one final exhibit in Florida, she vanished completely. Some say a train. Some say a truck. Nobody agrees. Which tells you how little any of them actually knew. She has not been seen since. Let me explain something before I explain everything else. This wrench does many things. It hears what machines feel. It shows what actually happened to them. It can even repair what's broken when repair is possible. But its rarest power is this: finding the ones nobody else is coming for and giving them somewhere to go. And there is a place it opens. A place no repair shop, no scrapyard, no auction house has ever heard of. Machines that have suffered enough, that have earned some peace, end up there eventually. If a gear guardian decides they deserve it, we call it the Mechaniverse. Now, the part nobody has ever gotten right. In 1960, on her way home from that last exhibit in Florida, she did not vanish by accident. I took her. Something you should know about me if you don't already. People cannot see me, not unless I choose to let them. That night, I chose not to. Some say a sealed train car. Some say a crashed truck. They will keep disagreeing forever because neither one of them is exactly what happened. I opened a door only I can open, at the one moment nobody else was looking closely enough to notice, and I walked her through it myself. I did not leave a trail. That was the entire point. I did not bring her back because I felt sorry for her. I brought her back because I had done the one thing none of those men had ever bothered to do. I asked her what actually happened. So let me finish what I started. The suspension part in the crash that killed Dr. McHenry? It held the rear of a car together. It could not have caused that crash. It never touched the wheels, the brakes, or the steering. The fire that burned down a garage around her and left her almost untouched. A Porsche historian who spent years studying this car believes the wreck George Barris toured for money wasn't even entirely real. Sheets of aluminum, beaten to look like wreckage. And her engine, the most cursed object in the entire story? A doctor raced it 7 more times after buying it. It never hurt anyone again.
I was never haunted. I was framed. Every time I made someone money, I made someone else afraid of me. And it turns out those 2 things paid the same amount.
She is whole now. Every real piece of her, the engine, the transaxle, the door strangers bought and sold and fought over for decades, sits here together for the first time since 1955. And out there, In 3 separate rooms in 3 separate countries, 3 men still believe they own a piece of her. They do not. I built each of them a replica, down to the scratch marks. They can keep their story. She kept the truth. Nobody here calls her little bastard. Nobody here calls her anything but her own name, which for the first time in 70 years is entirely up to her. Remember that reward? The $1 million sitting on a table for 65 years? She knows exactly where she is.
I am not hiding. I am resting. There is a difference, and it took me 70 years and one machine who bothered to ask to learn it.
She was never cursed. She was just the only one in the whole story who never got to say what actually happened. No machine story dies while a gear guardian lives. It sucked to be James Dean's Porsche Spyder. It doesn't anymore. If you want to know what happens the next time someone in this world tells a lie about a machine, stay close. Like this. Subscribe for the next one. And tell me in the comments, whose story should I set straight next?